Okay. Well, I'm going to start us off. Thank you so much for coming to our Honors in Action research project or our HIA research project. Today, we're going to walk you through children's play during wartime, which sounds kind of controversial.
Mhm.
We are from Phi Theta Kappa here at Orange Coast College, one of the 16 honor societies at OCC, and our objective is to find a problem that relates to our community or the world community and research solutions to it. So with that, let's get started. So our agenda on the several things we want to cover today, those four key things being some background information on play and war, both the benefits and the drawbacks to play, and then what we concluded from our research. Okay, but before we go any further, let us introduce ourselves to you all. I'm going to hand it off to our co-chair, Tang.
Hi guys, sorry, my parents are coming in right now, but that's all right. So I'm Tang. I'm currently a political science student at Orange Coast College. This is my second year. And a fun fact about myself is that I used to hate avocado, but then now I really love it. So yeah, thank you, avocado toast.
I'm Clarissa. This is my second year at OCC. My major is business administration. A fun fact about me is that because of Happy Feet, the film, I really love penguins, and I really will. I will go to Antarctica in the future. If you want to go with me, just let me know.
Oh my gosh, you have to invite me, Clarissa. All right. My name is Robert. It's my second year as well. I'm a sociology major, and fun fact about me is that I can do the entire alphabet backwards.
My name is Marley, and I'm a business administration major, but I'm transferring for a business economics degree. Fun fact about me is that I'm a very slow ice cream maker and eater. Everyone finishes before me, and by the time I get to the end, it's already soup.
Hi, my name's Cavello. I'm currently a chemistry major, I believe my third year at OCC. And something about me, I like scuba diving.
All right, so Kaya and Anna aren't here today, but then they helped us out a lot with the project, so I wanted to introduce them. So Kaya, she is a chemistry major, and or no, she's not a chemistry major. She's a food science major. And a little fun fact about her is that she loves pizza. The first time I met her, her profile picture that she sent me was her on the floor eating pizza at like a parking lot. So like that was really fun. And then Anna, she, I believe, is a psychology major and she loves to read books. So, yeah.
Yay. Okay. So also in this presentation, we've included some clips from interviews that we conducted during our research. On the list, we have Esther Nyamba. She's a refugee from Congo who's an advocate of human rights and refugee children. She also spoke at the United Nations Transforming Education Summit. And then on the right-hand side, we have Jill Hoffman. She's a psychotherapist and has volunteered with the American Red Cross for over 40 years. During her time volunteering, she's traveled the world to help refugees. So we're more than happy to have her and Esther help us out.
So you may be wondering why we're presenting about children's play during wartime. At first, we had no idea how to come up with the research topic, and we didn't know exactly where to start, but we knew that we wanted to incorporate the element of play into it. So we thought that it would be a great idea for each to share stories and memorable moments of play. And I had a specific experience that stood out amongst others. I grew up in Sweden, and Sweden is known to take in a lot of refugees. And when I moved there, I was 7 years old, and I was put in a class for Swedish learning students. And during recess, we were playing outside, and some kids came running down a hill in the school with sticks, and they were screaming as if they were going to attack the other kids. And I did not know what was happening. I went and hid, and I thought they were actually going to attack everybody else in the playground. And I, for some reason, never shared this with anyone until I got older. And then I also, when I started thinking about it more, I realized that that's how they played, since they had come from a place of conflict, war. They had seen things and they adapted their play to be like that, more violent. And it's because they probably did not know how to react and take it in. So that's how they played, and it suited really well with this project that we did.
Yeah, thanks, Marley. So after hearing her story, we were really inspired to do more research into that topic, how children play in relation to armed conflict. So we spent a couple more meetings exploring the different facets of child's play and definitely the psychology of it. And we ultimately settled on the essential question in front of you: how does children's play during armed conflicts challenge, inspire, and traumatize, yet ultimately benefit their upbringing?
So we're first going to start with some background information so that you all can understand these terms or ideas that we'll be discussing and building upon. Play can come from anything that engages people, and whether it be something really simple like skipping a rock, climbing a jungle gym, or something really complex with rules and organization, people can find the novelty and why it is important to them. It is also unpredictable in the sense that it can be both beneficial and negatively consequential. As for the flexibility of play, it is not immune to negativity. So it can bring together communities, it can evoke artistry, creativity, it can inspire and heal. But just as easily, it can undo everything mentioned earlier. For example, it can enable oppression, destroy communities, crush dreams, traumatize, and you know, we are now. You may be wondering why we need play. So animals play, and it's really useful because it actually helps them learn how to survive, develop emotional intelligence, and the ability to pick and choose. And also, animals who played were statistically more likely to survive in nature. Baby tigers would often fight with each other, and that would teach them how to hunt and attack later on. And humans play really helps to reduce stress and improve confidence, increase brain functions, and it helps to foster better relationships. When you first think of play, you don't necessarily think about children during wartime, but we wanted to get outside of our comfort zone to have hard conversations. For these two parallel ideas side by side, play and war, we wanted to examine the overlap that they may have. Sadly, children have always been subjected to war, and here are some pictures of them playing during the Russia-Ukraine war. These photos were taken earlier this year, and it shows them having fun despite the dire situations that they're in.
We will now move on to the next section, which is all about why children should play during wartime. From our research, we found that children should play because of two main reasons. First, playing allows them to regain control over reality under harsh conditions. So when they are playing, they incorporate their imagination to have fun. That helps them shift their perspective from a negative situation to a positive one. It is a coping mechanism that allows them to create a reality that is more understandable for them. One that offers them a place to turn their anxiety and fear into a feeling of, I'm under control and I can rebuild the world around me however I'd like. As the next benefit, children's play allow them to grow as people. And what we mean by that is that playing allows them to understand various roles in society, understand adult concepts. In one of our sources, we learned that Syrian children in the Syrian War of 2016 were creating different games, and one of the games was them acting out roles such as social workers, rebel commanders, and even a war therapist consoling victims of war. Other Syrian children also acted as soldiers, as they makeshift toy guns, and fought against imaginary enemies. This not only makes them understand and more used to the people who they are seeing on a daily basis during wartime, but it also allows them to develop traits and personalities that build their character. Lastly, play allows children in war to understand adult concepts such as life and death. In one of the shocking stories we found, a Jewish child from Auschwitz during the Holocaust named Karl Kulkan. He was playing with the barbed wires that outlined the concentration camp, and he was drawn to it. At the time, he was thinking to himself, this is what it's like to be dead, while playing a game where he had to touch the wire, essentially risking his life without even knowing what was going to happen afterwards. Experiences like this expose children to having hard conversations with themselves, even at their young age, and it forces them to grow up faster. In this next slide, we're going to show a clip of Esther during our interview talking about her experience with play and how it helped her. Let's watch the clip. Yeah. And then I have my next question here. Our research explores how children play during wartime and why it's good for them. Do you think play benefits children during wartime? I know you said that there's like no time, like you're scared, but when they play, do you think it's like a coping mechanism or therapeutic in a way?
Yeah, I think it's therapeutic, like playtime, because it kind of like it gives you some sense of reality and it makes you feel like, okay, I'm playing. It distracts you from what's going on. Because I think my parents encouraged my sister to go outside and play because they want to give you some sense of like, okay, I know you're in a war zone, but they want to give you just like to feel like the war is not happening. So I think playtime can be therapeutic because you can feel like, okay, I have control of something. My life is not being taken away from me. Because that's when we're going through where you feel like, oh my gosh, my life is being taken away from me. But when you play, you're playing with your dolls, it kind of like relaxes you and really calms you down. Because I remember when we went outside and started playing with my sister, I was like kind of relaxed. I'm like, okay, I think things are getting to normal. Like, I'm not going to die. And you kind of get relaxed. And so you start seeing like the soldiers walking and like, you start seeing all the things that are happening. Then you're like, oh my gosh, this is like, then you freeze on. But I think playtime is important. I think if there's a safe way for kids to play, it's definitely important they should have that opportunity. But also making sure, how do you make playtime safe during war? It's like that's like the battle. How are you gonna make sure that child is safe and they don't get hurt during war? Because like during wartime you have to like stay laying on your belly and all this stuff so you don't get shot. So it's like that's a very tricky question.
For this slide, we pulled out an article from the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is essentially a legal binding international agreement on the rights of the child. In Article 31, it says that every child has the right to rest and leisure, to engage in play and recreational activities to the age of the child. And every country who signed onto this convention has to abide by it. The UN agreeing with it just highlights how important play is for children.
Now we are going to move on to the drawbacks to children's play. For the counter-argument, we found several sources arguing that children shouldn't play during wartime. Firstly, many think that children who play during armed conflicts usually play more aggressively. It is true that some children mimic what they see around them, so they'd play more aggressively or pretend to do things that usually you'd see adults do. With this, some argue that this may lead to bad behavior and can normalize war and violence. An example of this would be in one of our sources where it discusses the experiences of a Japanese man who was a child before Japan took part in World War II. He shared his experience about how many published magazines and stories were shared that normalized war to children. He said that these stories invented new ways to blend soldiers with children, war with play, and violence with care. And because of this, there was an increase in children who became more aggressive. Secondly, another main counter-argument is that play can be weaponized against them. And because of this, they should not play to prevent themselves from being corrupted or used by others. Going back to the Japanese man's story about his experiences growing up in Japan before World War II, He said that there were way too many productions of narratives posted in pictures and all other formats at the time that had children with military-related objects and actions, such as interacting with soldiers or play fighting. This harmful content that was being pushed out weaponized play to convince families that war is about glory and heroism, and it's for the protection of the family, community, and nation. So they try to depict excitement about the war as adventure, and by the time boys were old enough, they will want to join the military for real and bring honor to the country. The government and the military marketed war and play to increase military recruitment for their own benefit. However, since we are researching how children should play during wartime because it will benefit them, we do have a rebuttal. We want to argue that play does not make them more aggressive, but rather just more social. As of right now, there are no concrete studies that have found that children playing aggressively due to their experiences in war would turn them into aggressive people in the future. To back that up, we found a case study conducted at the University of Zagreb, Croatia in 1994. In this study, they studied 1,168 children in Croatia, and they studied two groups of the same children, one group of 5-year-olds and one group of 6-year-olds. They watched them behave before the war in Croatia in 1991. And then they re-examined them in a year afterwards to see how their behaviors have changed and how play affected them. To spare you from all the complicated numbers and methods of madness, the results were that they found no changes in their aggression levels in terms of how they played outwardly behaved towards other kids and adults, but their pro-social activity increased by a lot. Pro-social is defined as positive, helpful, and intended to promote social acceptance and friendship. According to Oxford Dictionary, and the research aligned their definition closely to this one as well. They were more willing to comfort, share, and help each other out, despite having been through the war in Croatia for a year.
Yes, thank you, Clarissa. So, we're in the last section of our slides, and with that, there are a couple more notes that we wanted to make. So, firstly, we want to share with you this clip of a significant moment that we had when we were talking to Jill. She talked about how we can heal children within cultural context, and while researching, we noticed that cultural context was something that wasn't even highly considered or even mentioned. So her input definitely added that missing piece of like element that we needed. So yeah, let's watch this clip that's approximately 1 minute.
That's not the way to go. What worked in the Rwandan culture was the elders got together and they told stories. And they kept on telling stories to the small children who were in the group that had witnessed things. And then the small children told their stories. And the clans got together and they healed their own children, because within the context, which is so important, within cultural context, it's so important to look what heals them. And if you have elders from that area that can tell you, what they do to play, you can tell them, you can not tell them, you can share your experience and find out from them what their experience is. You always ask local people what they do to play, because somebody in an urban area in the Congo is going to do something different than somebody in a rural area in the Congo. Somebody in Taiwan is going to do something different from mainland China. Somebody from Australia is going to do something different from England. We're going to do something different from South America or Central America. The point is, every culture has its own way of healing and its own way of dealing with grief. And the rituals are very different. For some,
So, just to quickly discuss about it, it's really important that while we're doing our research, we have to keep an open mind, in how we do things and how other cultures do things. So, there's no standard ways of doing something, and it just all depends on where we are in the world. Yeah, things are just done differently everywhere. So here is the last clip. We want to share this last message with Jill. And we asked her what should we learn from this topic or what should we take away. So yeah, let's watch it.
oh, one thing, sorry, don't get away with that. You don't, there's the one thing. The major thing that to remember is children are resilient. They bounce back. I mean, I used to laugh, but I know this is true because my parents bounced me off, the high chair. When I was 2 years old, they went to go get milk, and I somehow slithered out and hit my head with my leg dangling up in the air, holding on to the strap that was supposed to hold me in, and my head bounced. And I still to this day say, well, maybe I'm a little crazy because of that, but I survived that. And children are amazingly resilient. They fall and they get up again. And the thing is, our mind is similar. If it has the correct tools, children's minds can also heal.
All right. So, if you didn't catch that, Jill just shared a really funny story about how essentially the kids are resilient, and at the end of the day, no matter what happens, they always bounce back and can be healed. So, yeah.
Alrighty, thank you, Tang. Now that we're kind of nearing the end of our slide presentation, we have a quick 2-minute survey for everyone that we'd love if you could fill out for us. It's really important for us to gather information on your thoughts about our research and our presentation, so if we could just have 2 minutes of your time to fill this out, it would be greatly appreciated. You can feel free to scan this QR code on the screen, or you can use the link we provided to access the survey.
All right, so that's the end of our slide presentation. Thank you so much for attending our HIA research projects presentation. It means a lot for us because we spent a lot of time doing research and just crafting everything for you guys and doing the interviews. That was so fun. And yeah, feel free to follow our Instagram on the screen and email me if you have any questions. So also, if you really enjoyed the interviews and you want to watch more clips, or you just want to watch the entire thing, like the interviews with Esther and Jill, email me. I can definitely send you guys the link to the interviews. And yeah, I'll give you guys a few moments to screenshot this information, or if you guys need to pause the video or whatever. Afterwards, I'm going to show you guys the citations page. Um, yeah, a little fun fact, we actually used over like 20 sources of citations, but we had to condense and pick and choose the sources. So yeah, all of this information that you guys just got, this is like it's heavily condensed. So yeah, just a little heads up. And here is our citations page. Um, so yeah, thank you everyone for listening to our presentation. We hope everything goes well for you. And then also please fill out the survey because it really helps us. And yeah, thank you.